One of the biggest heartbreaks a child can have is a relationship that they've developed in their mind with their father. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. And, sometimes what children will do, especially if their father isn't an upstanding person, has maybe some shady character traits or some personality traits that are not so good or not so positive, that child will still idolize and pedestalize their father. And their father is king, their father is the best person ever. And they really have developed this sort of fantasy about who their father is. And don't get me wrong, people do it with their mothers too. And we could do that in a separate video. Um, but but people do idolize this, and I've seen this with men and with women. I used to see it all the time, a lot with men and boys who were in the prison system, and then their father would also be in prison too, and their father is an OG, heartless person who's done a lot of bad things. And a lot of times what happens, especially when I've seen young men like this, they want to prove themselves to their father. They want their father to look up to them the same way that they look up to them. They want to have a relationship, even if it means that they now have to start doing bad things. Almost like they want to initiate themselves into their father's presence. So they definitely start performing and auditioning. And the way that they do it in jail is they may hurt somebody. They may start stealing some things. They may become aggressive and do things. And they'll get into a lot of trouble trying to do that. But all they want to do is be with dad. They want to be like dad. And you see, I've seen this all the time. But also a girl too, again, these a girl, a daughter, a son, they will pedestalize their father so much that they will chase after, they will chase after their father in every single relationship. So you were literally, dating your father in every relationship that you have, in attempting to recreate a scenario where it has a positive result. And so there's two movies that I think portrays this pretty well. I'll do one with a woman and one with a man. The one with the woman is our friend Gwyneth Paltrow, and her father in the movie was Robert Urich. It's a movie called Deadly Relations, and her father was a menace to society. He was just doing all kinds of stuff, but she loved her daddy, and the sun rose and set on her daddy, and nobody could tell her anything different. She wasn't hearing it, no matter when family members expressed concern. And then she got married, and her husband expressed some concern. Long story short, her father got into some criminal activities, and it ended up getting her husband killed. And then it put her, I think, in danger as well. She saw him. Her father was an opportunist, and anybody was up for grabs, even her and her family. And she didn't see the writing on the wall until it was too late. But by that time, he had done so much damage. But the movie's Deadly Relations is a really good movie. I think both actors outdid themselves. And there's another movie with James Spader and Robert Meacham. And that movie is called A Killer in the Family. And again, it portrays a lot of what I saw in prison. But Robert Meacham is an inmate. He is, James Spader is his son. So he has two other sons. One is Eric. I forget what the other son's name is, but he played Rocky in the movie with Cher. But basically, he's got a long sentence. He's not getting out, and he wants out of prison. And so he's like running a con where the family comes to visit him every week, and he pretends to be a family man and care about his family. But behind closed doors, he's really trying to concoct a plan with his sons for his sons to get him out of there. And it works. The plan works, and they get him out of there. But, what happens when you have someone that escapes from prison? The police come after you. And Robert Meacham is like, he's not real. He's really sort of thinking on his feet. He's coming up with stuff, but he pretty much abandons his children because they think that they're all in it together. They're going to get their dad back, and they love him, and they think that he's unfairly incarcerated. And Robert Meacham, he gets up out of there. He's like every man for himself. So he's gone, and that's a good example of how fathers can be that are narcissistic, antisocial, and even borderline sometimes. That your father can be your hero, but they won't allow themselves to see the bad aspects of their father. They can't be objective about their father. And again, the sun rises and sets. They'll do anything for their father. They'll even cover for their father's shortcomings. They may even compromise relationships that they have with other people, including siblings or with the other parent, just because they love their father, and he's number one in their eyes. Sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's not so conscious that you are chasing daddy, because a lot of us do it unconsciously, and we look back and we reflect some of the relationships that don't work out. A lot of the people that we were with have the character traits of our father, and it became so normal to experience this, to see this, that we didn't even recognize that we were overlooking it, and how much deep down we long for a relationship with a father that's probably never ever going to work because he thinks of himself first and nobody else. But we have to uphold the fantasy, because a lot of times the alternative is very devastating to people. The alternative, your father's not a good guy. Your father doesn't care for you the way that you care for him. You are literally in a one-sided relationship, possibly even parasocial in many cases, especially if your daddy's not there. You've never even met him. All you've heard are stories, or all you've had to do, all you could do was create imaginary scenarios. If your daddy passed, all of these kinds of things where we create, we imagine, we fill in the blanks when our father lets us down. If he doesn't show up for our birthday, we come up with an excuse. He's probably busy. He's been working a lot. He's tired. I know he meant to call me. I know he meant to come over. I know he really wanted to celebrate. He just couldn't. And you kind of you're so used to sort of coming up with these narratives, you don't even know that you're creating stories about a person who could give a shit less, to be honest. And sometimes that happens. And I'm not saying it's good or it's bad. I'm just saying that sometimes we delude ourselves because we don't want to see what's really happening, because what's really happening is more painful for us to face. So let me know how you feel about that. Like, comment, follow, and share. Have a great day.